Hello Internet, I'm Jackie Fox, and today we're going to be talking about the situation on the ground in Ukraine. Now, I've referenced it before in this video, but today we're going to be taking a week-by-week look at the first 4 weeks-ish of this invasion. The long and short of what I'm saying here is that Vladimir Putin is not only doing a horrible thing that the Russian people are actually beginning to notice, and also a number of oligarchs at this point, but that it is also an ill-advised thing to do based on terrain, military strategy, and other factors. One thing that hasn't been a feature of this war is the large-scale cyber attacks like Ukraine has faced for years that have shut down any number of utilities for a number of days in the past, one attack breaking an estimated of 10% of all computers in Ukraine. However, this is another area that global support, especially from the US, has caused Ukraine to become much more competent in. At this point, Ukraine even exports its cybersecurity capabilities, which would tell us why Russian forces are finding it necessary to capture the Ukrainian nuclear plant and other pieces of key infrastructure instead of just taking it down remotely using cyber warfare. The Foxblade malware deployed on day one seems to have utterly failed, while at the same time, Ukrainians have succeeded in hacking Russia's Netflix alternative to briefly show on-the-ground fighting in Ukraine to counter Russia propaganda efforts, along with several other small-scale attacks on Russian digital infrastructure. It's a little bit closer to 4 weeks in, by the way, as I'm recording this, and within the last week, we have actually seen Russia hacking a few Ukrainian television networks in order to show really hastily deep-faked footage of fake Zelensky surrendering to Russia and advising Ukrainian citizens to surrender themselves. And it seems like it's just so sloppy that most people won't believe it. But maybe maybe it wasn't meant for all people. Maybe it was meant to just knock away a few percentage points of the resistance. You know what I mean? And maybe it will be effective in that. We saw how damaging this strategy had been for many years in a row as Russia targeted Ukrainian power infrastructure in the dead of winter. But it seems that after the 2017 NotPetya ransomware attack spilled out of Ukrainian borders and caused a total of $10 billion in damage to the world economy, that the world's tech experts decided that Ukraine needed real help in the cyber warfare they were facing. This attack also brought condemnation from abroad as the war splashed over its borders, and in the end, even affected Russian businesses. Trump's press secretary, Sarah Sanders, announced that this was, quote, a part of the Kremlin's ongoing effort to destabilize Ukraine, and this demonstrates more clearly than ever Russia's involvement in the ongoing conflict, here referencing the ongoing invasion in the Donbass. She added that this was also a reckless and indiscriminate cyber attack that will be met with international consequences. The UK's Lord Maud was even more direct on this matter. The UK government judges that the Russian government, specifically the Russian military, was responsible for the destructive NotPetya cyber attack of June 2017. The Kremlin has poised Russia in direct opposition to the West. Yet, it doesn't have to be this way. We call upon Russia to be the responsible member of the international community it claims to be, rather than secretly trying to undermine it. We are committed to strengthening coordinated international efforts to uphold a free, open, peaceful, and secure cyberspace. After 5 years of focus on cyber defense later, and Russia's attacks seem to be considerably less dangerous, the most effective cyber weapon of the moment being humble DDoS attacks. Dr. Lennart Maschmeyer of the Center for Security Studies at the Swiss University ETH Zurich says Russia's cyber strategy so far seems more improvised. A plausible scenario for devastating cyber attacks was that Russia had planned this invasion for a long time and pre-positioned implants across Ukraine's critical infrastructure in order to cause mass disruptions, coinciding with the military invasion. That does not seem to be the case, though. The cyber operations that we have seen do not show long preparation, and instead look rather haphazard. This once again reminds us of the real likelihood that this was a rushed invasion because a scared Putin got spooked and went in at exactly the wrong time. But what is important to keep in mind with state cyber warfare is that even if a new type of attack or new type of malware is successfully deflected or nullified by Ukrainian cyber defenses, that new method of attack, that new way of exploiting a system now exists out there somewhere. And people will find it, and within years we will probably be seeing the exact type of or modified types of the type of cyber warfare platforms that both the US, Ukraine, and Russia are using right now, more commonly sold among hackers on the black market, and therefore making everyone less safe from a cybersecurity perspective. And this is really the problem with state-level cyber warfare in general, in that much like the creation of the nuclear bomb, every time we create a new massively powerful cyber warfare technique that can bypass even a country with advanced cyber defenses, then your average computer user, or even most American companies who might have your data, get lost in that arms race very quickly, and it creates openings where our data is vulnerable. Even if our personal security practices are good, the companies that we allow to have our data, their practices might not be as good. So even though this seems to be the little cyber war that didn't, it will have drastic cybersecurity ramifications in the long term that will ripple out from this moment in time.